So, a big, huge thing is like, I love meeting new people and connecting with like all different types of people. And I'm someone who like can, or values, I don't know. I'm someone who can create a more intimate, closer bond even with people I've just met. Like, I don't really have intimate friends and non-intimate friends. Actually, every person who's in my life, I know them intimately to some degree. But my point is that when I even meet new people and we sort of have a closer bond, I've always felt like I'm leading them on in some way, because I feel like, oh, because it's actually because in the past so many people have been like, they're blind, have said to me they're blindsided or something, or like they'll feel closer to me, or they'll be like, oh, like I thought you're my best friend and like you treated me poorly or something. Okay. And in my mind, I won't have thought that, because I don't know if I really think that I have one singular best friend or something like that, because I feel closer or have more intimacy with most people around me, and if I don't feel that, I don't know if they're like necessarily in my life or something. It's not really intimacy, it's more just like a closer connection or something. I value it and I enjoy it, and that's what I look for, or that's what I cultivate, and so it naturally forms. Okay, and I'm not performing, I'm not like collecting people just for the fun of it or something. But the reason that I feel like I'm leading that I'm leading people on, or in those scenarios, is like I feel like I'm lying in some way, because I'm like, "Oh no. What if they're now close, they feel closer to me in some different way than I do?" Because I can't know how they're feeling. I can only know what I'm feeling, and I just always feel bad, and I think that like holds me back from forming a true connection in the moment, because actually my truth is that I would be very present with them. I would be excited. I would be intimate in some way. Do you know what I mean? Like in that moment, the truth is that I would truthfully, very honestly, very vulnerably do all of those things, but then I hold myself back because I'm like, I don't want to lead anyone on. And I truly don't mean romantically. I don't think that's ever been the case. This is only solely platonically. Or maybe it's been romantic, but no one's ever told me that. I don't think it's romantic. What I'm talking about is not romantic. And so then in my mind, I go, like, don't do all of that. And so I hold myself back. But it's like, we could both be enjoying a more intimate connection right now in this moment. And I think maybe I operated sort of maybe a different way, where I'm like, it doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be permanent, or like it doesn't need to be a permanent state of intimacy. Do you know what I mean? Because in me, I'm not doing anything that's like a lie. I'm really not. I in fact, if I feel anything performative in me, I'm like, "Oh, don't do that," because that's more of a lie than leading someone on. But then when the fear of like leading someone on comes in it, like, and if I feel it internally, I'm like, I don't lie, but then I hold back and I sort of put a defense and a barrier, and now I've put a barrier in between us that stops us from reaching a level of connection that we could reach. And maybe we're meant to have that in the moment. And I think I want to stop that. And I recently realized that when I was like, I was conversing with a friend, and I was like, she was like talking to me about her life, and I was genuinely like so invested and interested. But it's like, normally, I don't know if we're like very supremely close or something, or like I was like, oh, I felt the feeling of leading her on, and it's like so subconscious, like layers and levels deep, that it's like just like a smoke that rises, right? And I'm like, where the hell's that coming from? And I have to investigate. Do you know what I mean? It's like tendrils of smoke. It's not like I can see the feeling and the thing. So I have to investigate. And then I was like, oh, I'm feeling that feeling. And it was because I was like, I wouldn't share in that way, or like I don't feel close enough to share in that way. And I was like, so then I'm lying. Or like I'm leading this person on, and then or like I'm not like being a true friend, because if I was, I would also share with them. So if that's true, that I don't feel as close on my end where I wouldn't share, then technically I'm leading them on because they're sharing. This is what it's like to be in my brain. Does any of this even make sense? And I was like going in these circles and being crazy, and I was like, hold on, bro. Hold on, brother. Hold your horses. And I was like, I guess I was thinking that I was lying. Because I was like, you know what I mean? That I wouldn't reciprocate with my own stories or something. But I'm not lying, because the way that I behaved in response to this person's stories, or like, I truly was invested. I truly like asked questions from a genuine place. I genuinely, all my reactions were genuine. I was like, yeah, or like, you know, like hyping them up, or like, all of it was genuine. So then in that case, I have to put down the fear of leading someone on, and I have to put down the fear of not really reciprocating, because again, it's like, it's not about being one to one. And I have to put down the fear of leading them on, even if I do accidentally lead people on in some way. Maybe we're all technically leading people on. I'm also like, do other people think things like this? Do other people like, are they in moments where they're like talking to someone and then they go, am I leading this person on or something? I don't think so. I don't think people think so much. I think I'm over analyzing. It's actually not even like a mental analyzation. It's more like the smoke is rising from the fear. And it's like so potent. You know what I mean? And I have to investigate. So it's almost like a natural process. The fire gets lit by itself now. Eventually it'll stop, because then I don't want to like live through my fear, but um yeah, it's like, it's almost like I'm discovering new fears that I've been living by no longer. Anyway, thanks for joining me on my journey. Bye, love you.